Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. 7:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you. Pleased to be joined now by Mark Steyn, author of the new paperback version of After America, Get Ready for Armageddon. He's one of the best columnists around and fills in for Rush Limbaugh from time to time. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Hey, great to be with you, Brian. Hi, Brian.
I know you've written a lot about Muslim radicals, Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, and how the Western world caves in to political correctness when it comes to offending some. Now, we take into account what happened in Cairo not too long ago and what happened in Benghazi. It seems Benghazi was not a result of that video that was put out there, but maybe the tweets from the out of the embassy or from the State Department official in Cairo seem, though, to be, let's say, apologetic or appeasing to some. What's your reaction to those tweets first, and then what happened in Benghazi as well?
Well, for some reason, I was copied on those tweets. I don't know why taxpayers should be mad about a lot of things, but if they can't actually reform Medicare before lunchtime today, they could at least cut whatever money the U.S. Embassy in Cairo is spending on tweeting me all day long, which was what happened that particular day.
Really?
A complete waste of time, but also disgraceful. Because that tweeter, like the President of the United States, like the Secretary of State, like the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, like the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, was basically sacrificing the First Amendment in order to appease Muslim rage. I fought a long battle for that in Canada, and we succeeded in getting the law changed up there. And all through that battle, I used to get interviewed on Canadian TV, and I used to say, well, I can't see this sort of thing happening in America because they got the First Amendment. The vacuum of Obama foreign policy is swallowing the First Amendment whole, and it's absolutely disgraceful. $70,000, which in Washington doesn't go anywhere, doesn't buy you lunch, and is nothing in the great $16 trillion sinkhole of federal spending. But it's a pretty big ad buy in Islamabad. And that's what U.S. taxpayers have spent, making a commercial in which the President and the Secretary of State essentially give two thumbs down to this stupid guy's stupid video. They shouldn't be doing that, and they're playing a very dangerous game because they're incentivizing violence.
All right, now your book is called After America, Get Ready for Armageddon. And I'd like you sort of explain what the theme of the book is and why you feel that way.
Well, the two things are connected, the foreign policy and the spending, because like I say right on page 2, whenever it is, when money drains, power drains. In other words, if you're broke, you can't be a great power, and you lose control of your destiny. And we're broker than anybody's ever been. People seem to have difficulty grasping this because there's a lot of zeros on the end of all the numbers.
Right.
And those zeros are too many for most people's pocket calculators. So, let's keep it simple. We're broker than any nation has ever been, ever, in the history of the planet. The United States government has to pay back $16 trillion just to get back to having nothing, officially. Each man, woman, and child in America owes just shy of $200,000. That's your share of the debt. So the average American family total share of the debt is about $750,000, which is like the budget deficit of Liechtenstein, which is like one of the wealthiest jurisdictions on the planet. So those guys can afford it a lot more easily than Mr. and Mrs. America living in the Virginia suburbs or Maryland or anywhere else can afford it. So if you don't think that's a problem, if you don't think being the brokest nation in history is a problem, as millions of Americans don't, you are part of the problem, and your children and grandchildren will curse you for not doing something about it.
All right, so I noticed that you, along with a lot of other people, were having some fun with the Obama flag. Now, for people who may not know it, may not have seen it, it was on a website and it was all over the place late last week. It sort of looks like a finger painting of 5 fingers rubbed in sort of pinkish paint and dragged across the thing. That was the stripes. And then in the field, instead of the field of 50 stars, they had the Obama logo. And apparently, I'm told, you can't even find it on the Obama website anymore. They've taken it down. But you had a lot of fun with that.
Well, I don't really have fun with it, but I wouldn't call it fun, but I do think it's kind of appropriate. I mean, I think replacing 50 stars of 50 individual states with the great big sucking O, the great big awesome multi-trillion-dollar hole of Obama domestic policy in the corner is cute. And I think those 5 red smears, when in the rubble of the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, there are actually 5 bloody red smears smeared across the pillar as American diplomatic staff were dragged out by the mob to be killed and tortured and who knows what. So in an odd way, I think that the phony redesigned Obama flag is kind of appropriate. But I wouldn't call it having fun with it. I mean, I think these are very sad times. We just had the biggest loss of American air power since Vietnam, since the Tet Offensive, in some camp in Afghanistan, where basically a bunch of goat herds destroyed a squadron's worth of aircraft. So we're not even, which is incredible, and didn't even make the papers, because it's Obama. So the court eunuchs of the media decided to put themselves around him so nobody could see that goat herds just took out a U.S. air squadron. It's not, in Vietnam, the guys in the jungle were proxies for the other superpower, for the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact and all the rest of it. Here, the goat herds aren't anybody but goat herds, and they just took out a squadron's worth of U.S. air power. So they add that to the $70,000 for the Pakistani ad in just like a minor miscellaneous line item of total waste in the U.S. budget. All those aircraft, all those strike aircrafts, those Harriers and the rest, all gone. Boom.
You said earlier that you thought that America would get it because we have the First Amendment here. Do you think America will get it till November 6th, or where is your optimism level for that?
Well, I'm astonished that Romney, whatever faults one might ascribe to him, is not 10 to 15 points ahead. Because I think there's a certain type of wealthy liberal that thinks they can afford the sort of prissy, self-preening, feel-good sensation that comes with voting for Obama. I think unless you are extremely wealthy, talking about Hollywood money, you are not likely to survive the next 4 years. If you think the next, and actually this reflects very poorly on the American people. It's one thing to take a wild flyer on an unknown guy in 2008, but to re-elect him because you think the last 4 years have been a great success story is extraordinary. It is in its effect a vote for national suicide and a vote to go off the cliff and drag most of civilization down with you.
Well, Mark, just great having a conversation with you here on this Monday morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure, guys.
All right, talk to you soon.